Normally, we'd be discussing your work, your duty. We'll come on to that. But today, you've chosen to speak out for the first time. Why have you decided to talk now? Because, and there is no good time to talk about Mr. Epstein and all things associated. A jaw-dropping royal revelation has sent shock waves through Windsor and beyond. After years of whispered rumors and guarded speculation, Prince Andrew's private royal lodge has finally yielded secrets that insiders say are too explosive to ignore. And the discoveries are more astonishing than anyone imagined. Hidden letters, confidential documents, and rare heirlooms hint at dealings that could shake the monarchy to its core. Advisors, investigators, and the public are scrambling to understand the fallout. What exactly was uncovered inside the sprawling estate? Today, we explore the story the palace didn't want the world to see. Secrets unveiled at Royal Lodge, nestled quietly within 98 acres of Windsor's secluded woodlands. Royal Lodge has long stood as a fortress of privacy and solace for Prince Andrew, a sanctuary hidden from prying eyes and the relentless glare of public scrutiny. This sprawling 30-room mansion, steeped in tradition and understated elegance, rises amid rolling greenery. Its presence both commanding and discreet. The upper floors house 7 finely appointed bedrooms, each offering a private retreat from the world outside, while the grand drawing room, famously known as the formal room, serves as a testament to the estate's stately grandeur. Adjacent to this is a welcoming saloon, a space designed for quiet gatherings or reflection, and the meticulously preserved original conservatory, whose delicate glass panels and lush interior plantings seem to capture a piece of history frozen in time. Beyond the main mansion, the estate unfolds into a network of smaller yet equally significant properties, each tucked into the landscape with careful discretion. Ibu and Bach, a quaint and intimate cottage, sits quietly among the trees, offering both charm and seclusion. Nearby, the gardener's cottage and chapel lodge, alongside 6 additional lodge cottages, form a constellation of structures that support the life and function of the Royal Lodge while maintaining the privacy of its illustrious occupant. Secure police accommodations are discreetly interwoven, protecting without disrupting the estate's serene atmosphere. Altogether, these buildings form a world apart, a private kingdom of tradition, privilege, and secrecy, carefully maintained for decades. Yet behind this calm and dignified exterior, Royal Lodge has recently revealed secrets that have reverberated far beyond its gates, igniting intrigue across Windsor and beyond. According to sources close to the palace, investigators and royal aides stumbled upon a trove of sensitive materials that had long remained hidden from view. Locked cabinets and secret drawers, quietly tucked away in private studies and seldom used rooms, concealed documents that might have remained unseen for decades. Among these were private letters detailing intimate correspondences, sensitive financial records hinting at arrangements far removed from ceremonial duties, and confidential documents that suggest connections, agreements, or dealings previously unknown to the public. In addition to the papers, rare heirlooms and personal artifacts emerged. Some thought lost, others so carefully preserved that their discovery was nearly accidental. Each object, whether a finely bound ledger, a handwritten letter, or treasured memento, seems to echo the private life of a prince long accustomed to discretion. Together, these findings paint a picture of a residence that has been more than a home, a repository of influence, a silent witness to relationships, and a vault of personal and financial intricacies that could carry ramifications far beyond the estate's tranquil grounds. The very presence of these items has sparked immediate questions and speculation. What else lies hidden in the shadowed corners of Royal Lodge? How many more documents, artifacts, or letters remain tucked away, waiting to reveal private dealings, long forgotten decisions, or alliances unknown to the public? And most importantly, what does this mean for a royal figure whose life has been under scrutiny for decades? Royal Lodge, once merely a secluded retreat, now emerges as a focal point of intrigue. A house where the boundaries of privacy, legacy, and public curiosity intersect, leaving a trail of questions that demand answers. But how explosive are these documents? Will Prince Andrew step forward to defend himself? Or will he try to slip away from the scrutiny and possible legal consequences that their discovery could spark? Now, let's uncover how the revelations buried within Royal Lodge forced Prince Andrew into a sudden departure from Windsor. Caught in motion, departure from the UK. In the hushed hours of a late evening when Windsor streets were cloaked in silence, Prince Andrew was reportedly observed leaving his longtime residence under a carefully orchestrated, discreet escort, the image of the former royal moving through shadowed pathways away from the familiar grandeur of Royal Lodge seemed at once understated and dramatic. A private act of departure made public through whispers and watchful eyes. What prompted this sudden movement was no ordinary event. It was the culmination of revelations that transformed the prince's private sanctuary into a crucible of scrutiny. Inside Royal Lodge, investigators and aides had recently unearthed a trove of highly sensitive materials. Private letters detailing personal and professional dealings. Confidential financial records hinting at transactions beyond ceremonial duties and rare family heirlooms long thought lost had all been discovered tucked away in hidden drawers and locked cabinets. Each item seemed to carry its own weight, telling stories of privilege, influence, and connections that stretched far beyond the visible scope of the estate. It was this hidden archive, quietly gathering dust over decades, that suddenly became a force with undeniable consequences. Sources close to the unfolding situation suggest that Andrew's departure was far from impulsive. Every element, the timing, the route, the discreet escort, was calculated to minimize public attention while acknowledging the seriousness of the discoveries. In effect, the estate itself dictated the prince's next move. What had once been a private haven, a place of comfort and continuity, was now a pressure point, a location where secrets refused to remain hidden. The presence of sensitive correspondence and documentation created a situation in which retreat was not just an option, but perhaps an unavoidable necessity. For Prince Andrew, stepping back was a delicate balancing act, a retreat carefully measured to protect both his privacy and his ties to family identity and legacy. Each quiet step reflected the reality that even a life of immense privilege could be exposed when the past resurfaced. Hidden archives within the estate quietly dictated his choices, proving that status, ceremony, and long-held influence offer little protection against Barry's secrets suddenly coming to light. Forcing decisions steeped in caution and reflection, the act of leaving Windsor carried symbolic weight as well. The sprawling grounds of Royal Lodge, once a sanctuary of privacy, had become an inadvertent stage where history, discretion, and secrecy collided. Every room, from the formal drawing room to the secluded cottages, now seemed imbued with significance. The silent witnesses to the unfolding drama. The departure underscored a stark truth that estates and titles, no matter how grand, cannot insulate an individual from the repercussions of their own history or from the exposure of private actions. In stepping into the waiting vehicle, Prince Andrew navigated not only the streets of Windsor, but also the complex terrain of reputation, legacy, and accountability. The move was quiet, strategic, and necessary, a direct response to the force of discovery that the estate had unleashed. Royal Lodge, a space that had once symbolized comfort and discretion, now stood as the backdrop to a dramatic turn in the prince's life. A turn defined by revelations, forced choices, and the stark reminder that secrecy, once broken, can demand swift and irreversible action. He was caught secretly leaving the country, but what secrets could that document hold? Could it reveal more about his past scandals? And does he admit to any of them? Was this a desperate attempt to escape public shame? What exactly are these scandals about? Let's uncover the full story, Prince Andrew's shadowed past. While the walls of Royal Lodge continue to yield hidden stories, Prince Andrew's history of controversies has long shaped how the public views him, and by extension, the royal family. Each revelation, each misstep, and each questionable connection forms part of a tapestry that blends privilege, influence, and scrutiny, creating a narrative that is as complicated as it is captivating. The story begins in 1984 during a royal tour of Los Angeles. A younger, more reckless Andrew made headlines for a stunt that was part mischief, part audacity. He sprayed reporters with paint. Far from expressing regret, he later reflected with a casual, almost shocking frankness. "I enjoyed that. It was a moment that hinted early on at a certain disregard for convention, a willingness to blur the lines between playful defiance and impropriety." Fast forward to 2007, when the sale of Sunning Hill Park attracted serious attention. The buyer, Timur Kilobaev, reportedly overpaid for the estate, prompting questions about influence, privilege, and access. Even if no laws were broken, the incident cast a shadow over Andrew's dealings, raising concerns about how royal connections could sway financial transactions and how public trust might be affected when wealth, status, and power intersect behind closed doors. In 2010, Andrew's former wife, Sarah Ferguson, came under intense scrutiny when videos allegedly showed her offering access to her ex-husband in exchange for $500,000. The incident not only drew media frenzy, but also underscored the delicate interplay between private relationships and public perception. In a world where every gesture can be scrutinized, even personal associations risk feeding wider controversies that ripple through the monarchy. 3 years later, in 2011, Andrew's friendship with Gaddafi, son of the late Libyan leader, and his links to a convicted Libyan gun smuggler, ignited further concern. International attention focused on the seemingly unremarkable choices of a prince whose very presence carried weight in diplomatic circles. Alliances, friendships, and social interactions once seen as the private realm of royals now became matters of global intrigue, as the public questioned the judgment of someone so closely tied to both power and privilege. In 2024, revelations emerged of ties to a suspected Chinese spy who had been barred from the UK. The implications were immediate and serious, suggesting that Andrew's personal associations could intersect with the national security concerns. Suddenly, the stakes of private decisions were no longer just personal or reputational. They had far-reaching consequences that demanded scrutiny from intelligence and diplomatic communities alike. Finally, in 2025, previously unseen emails to the late Jeffrey Epstein surfaced, directly contradicting Andrew's long-standing claims that all contact with Epstein had ceased. The documents cast a stark light on past denials and underscored the persistent tension between private action and public accountability. They transformed what might have been an isolated controversy into a narrative threaded with recurring patterns of questionable judgment, connections, and exposure. From youthful mischief to entanglements with high-profile and sometimes dangerous figures, Andrew's story is not a simple list of incidents. It is a layered narrative of privilege, influence, and vulnerability. Each episode adds a new dimension to the public's understanding of a prince whose life has been lived both in the glare of attention and behind closed doors. The discovered document could expose new sides of Prince Andrew's controversial past, but what else might it reveal? Could it contain previously unknown details about his sensitive mission to the Gulf countries, and what exactly did that mission involve? Now, let's explore his high-stakes Middle East journey, where royal duty, diplomacy, and secret alliances collide. Royal diplomacy amidst turmoil. In early December 2010, as the Middle East teetered on the edge of upheaval and murmurs of revolution stirred across the region, Prince Andrew, the Queen's second son, wandered thoughtfully through New York's Central Park. Surrounded by the city's winter bustle, he bore more than a personal presence. He carried the weight of Britain's monarchy, representing the crown in a region known for its delicate politics and controversial alliances. Each step echoed responsibility, diplomacy, and scrutiny as he prepared to navigate the complex world of Middle Eastern power, influence, and emerging unrest. A royal envoy in uncertain times. At the time, the Middle East was on the verge of seismic change. The winds of the Arab Spring were already stirring, and governments long considered untouchable faced mounting domestic pressures. Yet Andrew's mission was to engage with leaders often criticized for repressing their own citizens. Over the course of his diplomatic work, he attended over 70 meetings with rulers and officials throughout the Gulf, navigating a delicate landscape where diplomacy and optics were inseparable. Each handshake, each official dinner carried the subtle but heavy responsibility of representing the United Kingdom, and a monarchy increasingly scrutinized on the global stage. Following his engagements in New York, Andrew traveled to the United Arab Emirates, embarking on a 4-day visit designed to strengthen ties between Britain and the UAE ruling families. These were not ordinary diplomatic meetings. They were carefully orchestrated encounters with powerful figures whose influence stretched across commerce, energy, and geopolitics. One of the most notable moments of the trip came when Andrew had lunch with Sheikh Surur bin Mohammed Al Nahyan, a senior member of Abu Dhabi's royal family and a key figure in the city's Abu Dhabi Trade Center. Their meeting was both a gesture of goodwill and a reminder of the intricate web of connections between British royalty and Gulf elites. The culmination of Andrew's UAE visit occurred on Sunday, the 27th of November 2011, when he met Mohammed bin Zayed, the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi, commonly known as MBZ, at Bateen Palace, one of Emirates' most prestigious royal residences. The encounter was emblematic of the prince's role as a diplomatic envoy, formal yet personal, ceremonial yet strategic. Within the palace's ornate halls, discussions ranged from trade agreements to investment opportunities, reflecting both the practical and symbolic significance of such visits. Andrew's presence was intended to signal continuity, friendship, and mutual interest between Britain and the Gulf. Even as political upheaval loomed on the horizon, these visits, recorded in public schedules, but often shielded from detailed reporting, highlight a chapter of Prince Andrew's life where royal duty intersected with international controversy. His role demanded a delicate balancing act, promoting British interests abroad while maintaining the dignity and image of a royal embroiled in the eyes of the public in an increasingly complex and scrutinized network of personal and political alliances. Walking through Central Park months earlier, the prince may have contemplated the gravity of such responsibilities. Yet in Abu Dhabi's palaces, he stepped into a world where tradition, wealth, and influence intertwined, revealing a side of royal diplomacy rarely seen by the general public. Prince Andrew once navigated Gulf diplomacy amid rising Middle East unrest, balancing royal duty with influence. Now, as he departs the UK, could he be seeking refuge in the Arab world? What kind of place might offer such shelter and privacy? And what does it mean moving to the new location? Let's find out. The desert palace awaiting a prince. Far from the familiar spires, gardens, and history of Windsor, beneath the scorching, unyielding Arabian sun, lies a palace that seems suspended in time. Tucked inside an exclusive, heavily guarded compound, and cared for with painstaking precision by the ruling house of Nahyan, the estate radiates unmatched luxury and absolute privacy. Marble halls gleam, courtyards offer secret refuge, and every corner whispers a promise of serene seclusion beyond the world's gaze. The palace's marble hallways shimmer like flowing silver, catching every ray of sunlight and amplifying its grandeur. Balconies extend elegantly over meticulously manicured gardens, while enclosed courtyards create hidden sanctuaries, untouched by outside eyes. Within these walls, privacy is total. A rare and unbroken calm where the clamor of the outside world, its scrutiny, gossip, and chaos fades into irrelevance, leaving only quiet, beauty, and the serene power of seclusion. For Prince Andrew, the palace is tantalizingly within reach through long-standing diplomatic ties forged during his years as a senior royal. He has the means to visit, the connections to gain temporary access, but full ownership or permanent residence is another matter entirely. To claim such a life in Abu Dhabi would come at a tremendous cost. It would require leaving the House of Windsor behind completely. It would mean severing the remaining threads that tie him to his family, his title, and the history that has defined him since birth. In essence, it would demand a sacrifice of identity in exchange for anonymity. The palace itself, majestic and tranquil, embodies a different kind of privilege, one that is untouchable yet ultimately hollow for someone who carries the weight of legacy. It offers freedom from public scrutiny, an escape from the relentless media gaze, and the ability to live a life unencumbered by expectation or obligation. Here, there are no headlines, no public outrage, no echoes of past scandals. The halls do not judge. The gardens do not whisper. And yet, despite all its allure, the estate remains unclaimed. It is a silent reminder that even the most lavish retreats cannot replace the bonds, status, and heritage that anchor a royal to his homeland. Prince Andrew may find himself captivated by the palace's calm and quiet, picturing a life untouched by scrutiny, where he could move unseen and free from past controversies. The allure of anonymity and peace is undeniable. Yet every step toward making such a retreat permanent would also mean leaving behind the very foundations that define him: his royal titles, his family history, public recognition, and sense of duty. No matter how high the walls or how luxurious the halls, no palace, no matter how magnificent, can replace the enduring legacy, identity, and responsibilities that come with being a member of British royal family. In a way, the palace becomes a metaphor for the choices facing him. The promise of peace and anonymity contrasted against the inescapable pull of heritage and public life. It is both invitation and barrier, symbolizing a life of solitude and comfort that could never replace the sense of belonging, responsibility, and influence that his birthright provides. A palace stands ready to host him beyond the UK. Could this opportunity have influenced his decision to give up his royal title? And what other reasons contributed to relinquishing it? Now, let's explore Prince Andrew under the microscope. The shadow of a working royal. Prince Andrew officially stepped back from royal duties in 2019. Yet public attention remains firmly fixed on the years when he was a fully active member of the royal family. From the late 1990s through the widely condemned BBC Newsnight interview, Andrew occupied a role that combined privilege, influence, and immense public visibility. For roughly a decade, he worked as a government trade representative, traveling the world to promote British business and foster international relationships. In many ways, his official work projected the image of a committed, outward, deaf-facing royal, dedicated to both national and global interests. But alongside the official duties lay a far murkier narrative, one that has gradually come into focus in recent years. Emerging evidence, including emails linking Andrew to Jeffrey Epstein, has raised serious questions about what palace officials and government departments knew and when they knew it. While Andrew repeatedly maintained in public statements that his contact with Epstein had ended long before controversy erupted, newly surfaced documents suggest otherwise. They indicate not only ongoing correspondence, but also actions that hint at an active interest in accessing personal information about Virginia Giu, one of Epstein's most prominent accusers. These revelations have cast a long shadow over Andrew's tenure as a working royal, exposing the fragile line between private conduct and public duty. What may have once been dismissed as personal indiscretion now carries weighty implications for the monarchy as a whole. The fact that decades-old decisions can re-emerge, reshaped by new evidence, demonstrates how the private lives of senior royals are never entirely shielded from public scrutiny. Every email, meeting, and connection is examined not in isolation, but as part of a broader story that speaks to judgment, accountability, and institutional responsibility. The scrutiny surrounding Andrew's past is intensified by the very nature of his former role. As a senior working royal, his actions were inseparable from the crown itself. International partnerships, trade deals, and diplomatic engagements were not conducted in a vacuum. They carried the implicit authority and trust of the monarchy. When allegations of misconduct emerge, they are not confined to an individual's reputation. They ripple outward, touching public confidence, political relationships, and the perception of the royal family on a global stage. Moreover, the ongoing revelations underscore a broader reality about the enduring consequences of choices made in positions of power. Canada. For Andrew, documents contradicting previous denials do more than embarrass. They threaten credibility, challenge public trust, and raise pressing questions about transparency within the palace and government oversight. In this context, Andrew's story is not merely about a prince under fire. It is a vivid illustration of how privilege and responsibility coexist uneasily in the modern monarchy. His decade as a working royal, once portrayed as a period of dedication and influence, is now inseparably linked to controversy, secrecy, and renewed public debate. The unfolding revelations serve as a reminder that in the lives of those at the highest levels of power, private actions can never remain entirely private, and that their consequences when they resurface can extend far beyond one individual, touching the reputation and stability of the monarchy itself. Prince Andrew officially stepped down from his royal title, freeing him from the constraints of royal protocol. Could this be why leaving the UK in secret was easier for him? And what ripple effects does this have on the monarchy? Now, let's explore how Prince Andrew's hidden scandals at Royal Lodge are shaking the monarchy to its core. Royal secrets unveiled. Prince Andrew's departure from the public eye, coupled with the recent revelations surrounding Royal Lodge, reaches far beyond the story of a single royal. It touches the very heart of the monarchy itself. Every confidential document unearthed, every private letter made public, and every long-hidden connection that comes to light chips away at the carefully cultivated image of the royal family. For decades, the monarchy has relied on an aura of stability and decorum. But each new disclosure now raises uncomfortable questions. What did palace officials know? What was ignored? And what responsibility lies within the walls of Buckingham Palace? The monarchy's image is at its core built on perception. Stability is not just a luxury, it is a necessity. When a senior royal becomes entangled in controversy, even behind closed doors, that sense of order is tested. The fallout is never contained to whispers within private corridors. It spreads deliberately or not into the public sphere, igniting debates, stirring curiosity, and challenging loyalty. Every misstep, whether personal or professional, is magnified because the public no longer separates the man from the institution he represents. Behind the palace gates, aides and advisors are now engaged in a delicate balancing act. They must manage media narratives that twist every new revelation into a headline. They must navigate internal tensions that simmer quietly yet threaten to surface. And they must carefully calibrate international optics, aware that the eyes of the world are never far from the monarchy. The challenge is extraordinary. They must protect the family's image while facing the undeniable truth that private failings have public consequences. Personal mistakes are no longer private. They ripple outward, touching diplomacy, reputation, and historical legacy. The reach of this fallout is vast. From Windsor, where Royal Lodge stands as both a residence and a symbol of past glory, to Buckingham Palace, where institutional authority is carefully orchestrated, the consequences are felt across the royal hierarchy. Discussions of succession, long considered internal and procedural, are now tinged with uncertainty. International partners watch closely, weighing the stability of an institution whose very identity is tied to public confidence. Even loyal supporters must grapple with the tension between admiration for tradition and discomfort over scandal. Royal Lodge itself has transformed in this narrative. Once seen merely as a sprawling estate within Windsor Great Park, it now stands at the center of a story that is reshaping the House of York. Within its wall, the secrets once assumed dormant have surfaced, each carrying the power to influence perception far beyond its gardens. The estate has become a microcosm of the challenges facing the monarchy, a place where personal history collides with public scrutiny, where privacy clashes with duty, and where one prince's choices reverberate far beyond the confines of a single family. In this evolving saga, the monarchy's enduring image of calm, control, and continuity is no longer a given. Every revelation threatens to blur the line between private lives and institutional accountability. And as the world watches, Royal Lodge serves not merely as a home, but as a quiet epicenter of transformation. A reminder that even the oldest institutions are vulnerable to the complexities, contradictions, and consequences of human behavior. The story of Andrew, once confined to the halls of Royal Lodge, now challenges the monarchy to reckon with itself in ways it has never faced before. What do you think will be the effect of the discovery on Prince Andrew and the monarchy? We would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe.